State's most watched news starts now.
Good Tuesday morning. Welcome to the KOAM Morning News and welcome to the month of June. It is 5 a.m. I'm Michael Hayslip. We've got rain falling in the southern portion of the 4 states and flood watches still in effect. Here's where we stand right now on the Skywatch Storm Tracker. Along and south of I-44, already an inch and a half, almost 2 inches of rain falling from last night into the early morning hours. Have not had any lightning concerns, so that is nice, but it will continue to roll up from portions of central Arkansas and Oklahoma. Temperatures not too bad, 58 in Joplin, 60 already in Chanute. We've got Monette sitting at 54, so almost just about like what we were yesterday with our eastern side, just a little bit cooler than what we're seeing out west. Whole bunch of 58s, that's kind of the dominant number on this Tuesday morning. Weather trend going to be mild this afternoon. We'll go mid to high 60s, far cry from the high 70s, which we would anticipate starting the month at, and the mostly cloudy skies sticking around. More importantly, let's talk about the rain. It's going to last all the way into the afternoon, and then we get a little northerly push with it. Still not looking at anything severe, flooding, that main concern, as it will stick around Tuesday night. Now, Wednesday morning, early morning, we get a little dry break, but then for Wednesday, we're going to be of the scattered variety until we're done with it on Wednesday night. So we've got those flood watches. Now, the ones for southwest Missouri indicated in green, those last until Wednesday morning. Do want to point out that the 3 that we see for northeast Oklahoma, those are actually set to expire here 10 a.m. this morning. So we'll keep our eyes and see the National Weather Service actually lets those come to an end. 7-day forecast, pushing up on the thermometer here as we head into the weekend. Thursday and Friday, pretty normal temperatures for this time of year, and the nice thing is we can back those rain chances off to about 10%. On Memorial Day, we honor those who have served our nation and gave the ultimate sacrifice, but some who served have not received the recognition they truly deserve. The American Legion Post 13, in conjunction with Mount Hope Cemetery, hosted a ceremony remembering soldiers with ties to Jasper County. They honored the unclaimed remains of 3 veterans. Officials say the cemetery is glad to be able to give them a final resting place.
Well, I just feel that it's our duty to make sure that they're taken care of for the sacrifice they made for us, and to have them in a final resting place with their fellow soldiers here in our veterans area, surrounded by other vets for their final resting place.
Cemetery officials say in the future, they would like to build a fallen but not forgotten monument for soldiers like the ones honored Monday.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early
Pittsburgh State once again went virtual with its Memorial Day program. It was recorded and is available for viewing at any time on the university's YouTube and Vimeo channels. The featured keynote speaker is retired Colonel Donald Woolfolk, a native of Pratt, Kansas, who is now in his 13th year as the Deputy Director of Intelligence, Navy Special Warfare Command. The ceremony goes into the history of Memorial Day after the Civil War. Monday in 1921, most preeminent black community in the history of the United States was destroyed in a brutal attack. Tulsa, Oklahoma's Greenwood neighborhood, also known as Black Wall Street, was home to more than 10,000 black Tulsans and hundreds of businesses. As many as 300 residents were killed in the 1921 massacre. Yesterday, the Tulsa Community Remembrance Coalition, in partnership with the Equal Justice Initiative, held its final soil collection to honor the remaining unknown victims of the massacre 100 years after the day it began. Viola Fletcher, the oldest living survivor of the massacre, and Hughes Van Ellis, who's Fletcher's younger brother. He was an infant during the massacre. They were both at the ceremony. Each soil collection serves to memorialize the life of a 1921 Tulsa massacre victim.
They are symbolic of those whose deaths we know, and they are symbolic of those whose deaths we only know because we understand the gravity of the violence that happened.
Black Wall Street's history is expressed through art throughout the Greenwood community. Chris Rogers is the project manager and mural artist for several projects in Greenwood. He hired an artist based in Kansas City to create a Black Wall Street mural. Rogers says each letter tells a significant part of the Black Wall Street history.
For example, the W, we've got a 1920s automobile here, and on the grill we've got the dollar sign, because we know this was Black Wall Street. You know, it's titled Black Wall Street because of the financial success of the district.
Rogers says the murals represent cultural tourism. A man named Trevor Hicks went into the rushing water to try to save 12-year-old Kaylin Brown, who was swept away by the current Wednesday. He was hospitalized and now, according to a GoFundMe page set up to support the family, is on life support. Deidre Walker set up the GoFundMe. Walker, a close family friend who is caring for Hicks's son.
They realized Kaylin was still in his arms, but due to how far out they were, they didn't have a chance to reach her before she was swept away again. Yeah, so he never let go of that little girl. He fought with his last breath to save her life.
You can find a link to the GoFundMe on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Work backwards here, talk about our 7-day forecast first, because we're going to have temperatures that are going to be pretty mild for this time of year. Highs only around 66 degrees. And we currently do have rain, especially for the southern part of the 4 states, and that's exactly where we have our flood watches as well. Haven't had any storm reports picked up as of yet, so that's a good thing, and no lightning. But when we do the old 24-hour precip accumulation right there, throw it down in between Monette and Mount Vernon, we're already up to 1.8 inches, and then in between Neosho and Joplin, we're at 1.6 inches. So as far as those flood watches go for southwest Missouri, they're extended all the way into Wednesday morning. Now, the ones for northeast Oklahoma, those are set to expire at 10 a.m. As a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up next on the KOAM Morning News, mobile vaccine clinics.
Agencies across the country are getting creative with vaccination efforts. I'm Elise Preston with a look at how Americans are trying to return to pre-pandemic norms.
The Ncba World Series is in Pittsburgh this week. We're going to hear from players in search of a national title. And automakers testing out new ways to stop drunk driving. How breath sensors could stop an accident before it even happens. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Crowder College Rough Riders still alive at the Junior College World Series in Grand Junction, Colorado. On Sunday, they avoided elimination, beating Florence Darlington 9-8. Faced elimination once again. This time they were on the field against Walter State, and Crowder does it again, winning big 14-6. You had 5 Rough Riders hitting home runs for Crowder, who will play again this afternoon. The Ncba World Series is in Pittsburgh this week, brings in the best collegiate club baseball teams from all over the country. Final Four features East Carolina, Oregon, Virginia Tech, and Iowa State. We caught up with some of the players to talk about coming from hundreds, sometimes even 1,000 miles away to find themselves in Pittsburgh, Kansas in search of a national title.
My name's Sam Cole. I play shortstop and I'm the president for the Iowa State baseball team.
I'm Robbie Sleesher. I play first base for the University of Oregon.
Jonathan Spalding. I am a shortstop and I play for Virginia Tech.
My name is Michael Crumpler. I play left field for ECU. We took a road trip across the country in a bus. It took us 2 days to get here. We saw some pretty cool things. It was the farthest west I've been.
I'm not accustomed to the Midwest very much. You know, I'm Virginia, there's mountains, beaches, stuff like that. So when I came through, I was like, man, this place is flat.
The city is really beautiful, honestly. The people are very nice, and it's been a great experience.
The first thing I noticed was, I was like, man, there's gorillas everywhere, dude. And I thought that was awesome because, you know, being at Virginia Tech, we got the Hokie Birds, and they're just everywhere. And people come in and they're like, why do you have it everywhere? You know, it's just a pride thing. So I love that we're in a town that, like, has so much pride behind the team. So I think that's cool.
We're staying at the Hampton that's connected to the casino.
If he doesn't score, we have to heist the casino. We have to steal like a bunch of money.
Everyone sees our jerseys, see our hats, and they're like, oh, why are you here from Iowa? Or I'm sure the other teams, like Oregon's far away too.
We've definitely had a lot of people come up to us asking us why we're in Pittsburgh.
Went to the deli over at the mall. It was great. Those sandwiches were good, and the crackers and whatever dressing they had for the crackers was good. We got some to bring home. It would mean a lot to me and everybody here on this team. I mean, most of us have been working 3 or 4 years strong for for this opportunity, and we feel like we put in the work, and we're very close to bringing it home.
We have a lot of guys that couldn't make it here, unfortunately, due to work, and they've been watching everything they can and rooting us on. So doing it for some of those boys that didn't get to make it out would just, you might see a tear roll down my face here.
The Ncba National Championship game is Wednesday night. It'll be at 7 o'clock at Pitt State. Both the Royals and Cardinals in action last night. Royals were back at home. Just a quick 2-game set against the Pittsburgh Pirates. A little interleague play as these two teams split a pair of games earlier this season. Royals were up 7-3 in the ninth. As for the Cards, took a 5-game winning streak to LA to take on the Dodgers. And LA snaps a 3-game losing streak of its own and wins this thing 9-4. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, calls are growing by British intelligence services for answers to the COVID-19 lab theory. And a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. Just about 17 minutes past the top of the hour. We'll call it a great time for weather on the 7th. Let's check out the good heavy rain coming down there with the street light. That, of course, a live look from our tower cam at 7th. And range line, that's coming down pretty good rate right now. As far as our current conditions go on this first day of June, 58 degrees is how we're going to start out the morning. And let's talk a lot about rain that's going on, because even though this is moving off to the northeast, we've got plenty more sitting down here in portions of Oklahoma and Arkansas that are continuing to make their way from the south up to the north. And before we get a break, it's just going to be a wet Monday or Tuesday, especially when you get along and south of I-44. As far as what we've seen so far in the past 24 hours, almost 2 inches right here between Monette and Mount Vernon. Joplin Regional Airport approaching 3/4 of an inch. It does taper off as you grow to the north and out to the west. But even with that being said, speaking of going out to the west, we still have 3 counties in northeast Oklahoma under flood watches. Now, the important differential between our 2 states right now is that the ones in northeast Oklahoma are set to expire here at 10 a.m. this morning. But then as we see our counties in southwest Missouri, you'll notice that thing extends all the way into Wednesday morning. An idea that there's going to be plenty of more rain to come. A whole bunch of 58s going to be in the popular number right now. Chanute, the clubhouse leader, chimes in at 60. Monette down to 54. So same thing as what we had yesterday with eastern temperatures, just a little bit cooler than what we're seeing out to the west. Central's caught up, though, very nicely. 55 in Miami as well. As far as what we're looking at from the national picture, we are kind of in the midst of everything that's going on action-wise. You've got a good one down here from South Texas up to about the Mississippi River, too, there in the Arklatex region, right there. That's a good band of thunderstorm activity. So at least we stay out of the fray when it comes to thunder, lightning, anything like that. We just got to worry about the flooding. As far as what we're looking at for our weather trend, temperature's going to be very mild to begin June, only mid-60s. More importantly, it's the rain that wants to stick around all the way into the afternoon. Now, when we get into the afternoon and evening, we actually see it grow a little bit to the north as well. And then it just continues to bubble up even on Wednesday. While we get a very early morning break, it will kind of reemerge there. Our rain chances do kind of fall off here as we go through the 7-day forecast while our temperatures increase. But right now, let's just go ahead and anticipate on flooded roads for the southern portion of the 4 states by the time we get to tonight. Turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page, our Something to Talk About, and our Insta poll. Almost 40% of traffic deaths over Memorial Day weekend involve alcohol. But now a technology supported by big automakers promises to stop drunk driving before it begins by adding breath sensors in new cars. Errol Barnett testing it out.
He never took another breath.
Patricia Kimmel recalling the moment her son Stephen died.
We watched all of his veins turn blue because of lack of oxygen in his body, and my hands were on his chest, just because I wanted to feel his heart until it stopped altogether.
T-boned in 2018 by a drunk driver, Stephen Kimmel's car flipped 3 times before ejecting him. It was the other driver's 3rd drunk driving arrest.
No alcohol detected.
A promising new technology, more than a decade and $100 million in the making, is aimed at preventing such accidents.
The sensors here, as you can see as we're talking, they are picking up our breath.
Robert Strasburger leads a group of over a dozen top car makers joining forces with Mothers Against Drunk Driving to back the Driver Alcohol Detection System for Safety, or DADS.
Verify me.
Warning, alcohol detected.
Here's how it works. The sensor can detect the blood alcohol content on your breath all in the matter of seconds. If it's above the legal limit, 0.08, the ignition won't turn. Joe Belvedere, helping to test the system, just had 2 shots of alcohol.
Car not started.
The keys electronically taken away. But when I took the driver's seat sober,
Please provide breath sample to sensor. No alcohol detected.
for transportation businesses, the manufacturer says this ensures the driver is 100% safe.
We really look at technology to help safety.
James River Transportation in Richmond has been on the road testing this technology for 2 years.
This technology actually provides us that extra benefit of knowing our driver is going to be safe with no alcohol in their system.
This technology is being made available for open source licensing this fall, so it could turn up in cars and trucks sometime soon. The hope is that this may one day be an added safety feature you can add onto a new car you buy at the dealership. So parents, for example, could have this to make sure their teenage drivers don't drive with alcohol in their system. Errol Barnett, CBS News in Sterling, Virginia.
Since each person processes alcohol differently, the makers are calibrating the technology to account for differing driver weights, mask wearing, and even attempts to try to trick the system. Our question for you this morning on the Insta poll: would you voluntarily add a breath sensor to your car? You can make your voice heard. Just go to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Be back with Health Watch next.
Topping Health Watch this morning, more than half the country has gotten at least 1 dose of the coronavirus vaccine. Health experts say to reach the rest, they have to bring the shots directly to the people. That's exactly what happened over the holiday weekend, with mobile clinics setting up right next to beachgoers. CBS's Elise Preston has more.
A scene like this might have terrified public health officials this time last year.
We purposely came really early in the morning and was still totally shocked when we turned the corner and it was a complete zoo.
But now, with more than 40% of Americans fully vaccinated, it was a holiday weekend to get out and enjoy the California sun.
It's been 15 months since I've been anywhere but Kansas City, Missouri.
New York's Rockaway Beach was anything but warm on Memorial Day, but that didn't stop this 12-year-old's late May polar plunge.
I mean, it's still the beach, no? It feels relaxing to even go outside in the first place and not be so scared about everything, especially with the vaccine out.
Health officials took advantage of crowded beaches, setting up mobile vaccination clinics in New York.
Everything on here we would have in a regular vaccination location, except this is on wheels.
It was a similar scene in Chicago.
I actually had an appointment 2 weeks from now to get it, and I'm like, why wait when I can just get it now? At the beach? Instead of at the hospital?
Gabe Pastoris got COVID in November and is still dealing with side effects. He's encouraging everyone to get protected.
There's so many things I want to be able to drive again, walk my dog, work in my own yard and stuff. There's a lot.
Proof that danger is still very real. According to numbers out of Johns Hopkins, more than 4,000 Americans died last week of COVID-19. Elise Preston, CBS News.
The World Health Organization has assigned new labels to some variants to make them easier to identify and also to take away negative stigma away from them. Instead of referring to a variant by where it was first detected, like the UK and South Africa, they'll be named with a letter from the Greek alphabet like alpha and beta. A large European study finds high blood pressure during pregnancy can increase the risk of stroke or heart disease for babies later on. Hypertension or preeclampsia during pregnancy is common and often temporary for mothers, but researchers in Sweden looked at it and say it can have long-term impact on offspring for decades. A study in Hong Kong finds Tai Chi can be just as effective as conventional exercise to reduce belly fat for middle-aged and older adults. Tai Chi uses slow exercise, meditation, and rhythmic breathing. Researchers say that combination can reduce waist size and also lower good cholesterol. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Hardest rain coming down right now in between Monette and Cassville, and that is actually where we've seen the most accumulation for the past 24 hours, approaching 2 inches in that area right there. And we've got those flood watches that last all the way into Wednesday. Mostly cloudy. Rain sticks around for the southern portion of the 4 states. Everybody up to the north, it's going to be dry yet mild, if not cool, for the first day of June with highs in the mid-60s. Be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Officials with the Mount Hope Cemetery honor the unclaimed remains of 3 veterans. Plus 100 years after tragedy, how Tulsans are remembering the lives lost in the Tulsa Race Massacre, and a look at an effort to immortalize the story of Black Wall Street through art.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. More rain is expected this morning, but it should clear off, at least for a cloudy afternoon. Let's go straight to Michael Hayslip for a first look at the forecast.
Not if you're down to the south, though, because that's coming down real good right there. At 7th and range line. It is getting on it and it's increasing. As far as what we've got for our current conditions, sitting at 58 degrees. Opening up June, a little bit cooler than what you might think, and a little north wind on top of that. More importantly, let's talk about the rain that is coming down, especially in the southern portion of the 4 states, right there in between Monette and Cassville. That's coming down. Let's go ahead and measure that, see what we're picking up off the radar. That's more than half an inch an hour right there. So that's good old-fashioned pour as well. And that's exactly where we've seen the most rain in the past 24 hours. We're going to cruise over 2 inches here by the time we get to the afternoon, specifically down in southwest Missouri. Creeps a little bit on the other side of I-44, but then as you get into the central and northern part of the 4 states, it's just cloudy. Our temperatures right now ranging anywhere from 54 in Monette to 61 in Chanute. Miami splits the difference there at 55. Weather trend for the next 24 only going to be up into the mid-60s today, and the rain sticking around as it continues to roll through up out of portions of central Oklahoma and Arkansas. Gets a little more widespread tonight up to the north with scattered showers. Still not looking at anything severe. Just our flooding concerns with flood watches for southwest Missouri until Wednesday morning. Hopefully we can let those ones in northeast Oklahoma expire. They are set to come off the board at 10 a.m.
That's good. I think we're used to the rain at this point. It was nice to have a dry weekend though.
Friendly reminder that at this point in time last year we had 10 more inches of rain than what we did this year.
Oh wow. Well, yeah, we can be thankful for that. All right, thanks, Michael. On Memorial Day, we honor those who've served our nation, but some who served have not received the recognition they deserve. The American Legion Post 13, in conjunction with Mount Hope Cemetery, hosted a ceremony to remember soldiers who had ties to Jasper County. They honored the unclaimed remains of 3 veterans. Officials with the cemetery say they're glad to be able to give them a final resting place.
Well, I just feel that it's our duty to make sure that they're taken care of for the sacrifice they made for us, and to have them in a final resting place with their fellow soldiers here in our veterans area, surrounded by other vets for their final resting place.
Cemetery officials say in the future they hope to build a fallen but not forgotten monument for soldiers like the ones honored on Monday. The GAR Cemetery in Miami, Oklahoma yesterday hosted an in-person event, but social distancing was encouraged. The event was open to the public and, of course, local veteran organizations. GAR office manager Nancy Bro says more and more veterans take part.
I think they're very honored. We get a large group of veterans that participate and show up for the ceremony every year, and that number is growing every year.
This year's guest speaker was Ben Loring. Loring is a former district attorney, Oklahoma State representative, and current Miami City attorney. His sons, David and Ian, served in the U.S. Army. On Monday, in 1921, the most preeminent black community in the history of the United States was destroyed in a brutal attack. Tulsa, Oklahoma's Greenwood neighborhood, also known as Black Wall Street, was home to more than 10,000 black Tulsans and hundreds of businesses. As many as 300 residents were killed in the massacre, and yesterday the Tulsa Community Remembrance Coalition, in partnership with the Equal Justice Initiative, held its final soil collection to honor the remaining unknown victims of the massacre 100 years to the day it began. Viola Fletcher, the oldest living survivor of the massacre, and Hughes Van Ellis, Fletcher's younger brother, who was an infant during the massacre, attended the ceremony. Each soil collection serves to memorialize the life of a 1921 Tulsa massacre victim.
They are symbolic of those whose deaths we know, and they are symbolic of those whose deaths we only know because we understand the gravity of the violence that happened.
Black Wall Street's history is expressed through art throughout the Greenwood community. Chris Skur-Rogers is the project manager and mural artist for several projects in the Greenwood community. He hired an artist based in Kansas City to create this Black Wall Street mural. Rogers says each letter tells a significant part of Black Wall Street's history.
For example, the W, we've got a 1920s automobile here, and on the grill we've got the dollar sign because we know this was Black Wall Street. You know, it's titled Black Wall Street because of the financial success of the district.
Rogers says the murals represent cultural tourism. A man named Trevor Hicks went into the rushing water to try and save 12-year-old Kaylin Brown, who was swept away by the current. Wednesday, he was hospitalized and now, according to a GoFundMe page set up to support the family, is on life support. Deidre Walker set up that GoFundMe. Walker is a close family friend who's caring for Hicks' son.
They realized Kaylin was still in his arms, but due to how far out they were, they didn't have a chance to reach her before she was swept away again. Yeah, so he never let go of that little girl. He fought with his last breath to save her life.
You can find a link on the GoFundMe to the GoFundMe on our website. That's at KOAMnewsnow.com. Small town in Missouri's wine country has caught the eye of a Florida investor who hopes to make it a destination for wine lovers from all over the world. That investor, David Hoffman. Well, he has Missouri roots too. He spent the last few months buying up land in a tiny town of Augusta along Highway 94 in Charles County. He's bought about $100 million worth, including 4 of Augusta's 5 wineries. He's also bought up commercial property and plans a golf course and a hotel. Hoffman sees the region as Missouri's own version of Napa Valley, but some worry the town of 290 residents could lose its unique charm. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News.
Tennis phenom Naomi Osaka has withdrawn from the French Open, citing her mental health as the reason. I'm Elise Preston with a look at the tennis world's reaction.
Plus, there's a growing push for changes at the World Health Organization. We'll have the latest, but first, it's 5:37.
In the southern 4 states and picking up just a little bit on the north side of I-44. And remember, we got flood watches for just about every county down south of the interstate lasting until Wednesday. Cool temperatures, especially considering the 1st of June is upon us, and we'd normally be in the high 70s. Be back with World Watch next.
Topping World Watch, the international community is stepping up its calls for answers into the theory COVID-19 leaked from a lab in China. The move comes as there's a growing push for changes at the World Health Organization. Gary Baumgarten has the latest.
British intelligence services are now reportedly changing their assessment of the theory that the coronavirus leaked from a lab in China's Wuhan Institute of Virology. A report in the Sunday Times of London quotes British spies who now say the leak theory is feasible. A source in the paper said, "The Chinese will lie either way. I don't think we will ever know." The report comes as lawmakers in the United States continue to demand answers about the origins of the virus.
It's very clear that China has not, and I don't believe they ever will, be a trusted partner as we begin to investigate this.
The World Health Organization in China issued a report in March saying that it was most likely the virus jumped into people from bats through another animal. The experts also said the lab leak theory was extremely unlikely.
Our intelligence community, all the way back to 2010, had been identifying concerns that China had been working on manipulating viruses for biological weapons that could have grave impact worldwide.
Meanwhile, the World Health Organization is facing new calls for a shakeup. European Union health ministers agreeing to look at proposals for reforms of the United Nations agency.
We really do welcome
the recommendations to take this forward to an international agreement or framework convention on preparedness and response.
China is ending its 2-child limit, allowing married Chinese couples to have up to 3 children. The shift in policy comes as China is facing an aging population and a major decline in its birth rate. But the high cost of raising children in China still poses challenges for families. Policy change will reportedly come with supportive measures like housing support and lower educational cost. As of late last year, couples who had a 3rd child faced fines of more than $20,000. The Thai government held a welcome ceremony to mark the return of 2 ancient lentils smuggled out of the country decades ago and brought to the United States. Hand-carved religious artifacts are made of sandstone and are 1,000 years old, but they had been removed from a religious temple in the country sometime between 1958 and 1969 and sent to the U.S., where they were donated to the Asian Arts Museum in San Francisco. Thailand demanded the return of the artifacts. Both lentils will be back on display at the Bangkok National Museum for the next 3 months. The Thai government will then decide whether they should be returned to their original sanctuaries. A Chinese climber becomes the first blind Asian to reach the top of Mount Everest. 44-year-old Zhang Hong's feat makes him only the 3rd blind climber ever to reach the world's highest peak. With the help of his guides and Sherpas, he reached the summit on May 24th and safely made his way back down. Zhang has been training for 5 years, carrying 66-pound bags up the staircase of the hospital where he works. What a feat. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. Almost 40% of traffic deaths over Memorial Day weekend involve alcohol. But now a new technology supported by big automakers promises to stop drunk driving before it begins by adding breath sensors to new cars. It's called the Driver Alcohol Detection System for Safety, or DADS. Here's how it works. The sensor can detect the blood alcohol content on your breath in a matter of seconds, and if it's above the legal limit, 0.08, car simply won't start. This technology being made available for open source technology this fall, so it could turn up in cars and trucks sometime pretty soon. The hope is that this may one day be an added safety feature you can add onto a new car that you buy at a dealership. Our question to you is, would you voluntarily add a breath sensor to your car? Right now, it looks like a whole lot of people worried about a little too much oversight there. 72% say no, would not do it. Of course, you can make your voice heard by going to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be back with the news you need to know before you head out the door and an updated Skywatch Storm Tracker right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Coronavirus vaccinations continued over the long holiday weekend. A mobile clinic brought vaccines to the streets of New York City. The CDC reports 62.5% of American adults have received at least 1 dose. The number of new daily COVID infections has dropped below 13,000 nationwide, the lowest it's been in more than a year. New surveillance video shows the 3 suspects accused of opening fire on a crowd outside a banquet hall in northwest Miami-Dade County early on Sunday, killing 2 and injuring more than 20 others. They were attending a rap concert inside. Police say the violence was the result of a rivalry between 2 groups. Police pulled the stolen SUV the gunman used from a nearby canal late yesterday afternoon. On Memorial Day, we honor those who've served our nation, but some who served have not received the recognition they deserve. American Legion Post 13, in conjunction with Mount Hope Cemetery, hosted a ceremony to remember soldiers who had ties to Jasper County. They honored the unclaimed remains of 3 veterans. Officials with the cemetery say they're glad to be able to give them a final resting place. In 1921, the most preeminent black community in the history of the United States was destroyed in a brutal attack. Tulsa, Oklahoma's Greenwood neighborhood, also known as Black Wall Street, was home to more than 10,000 black Tulsans and hundreds of businesses. As many as 300 residents were killed in the massacre. Yesterday, the Tulsa Community Remembrance Coalition, in partnership with the Equal Justice Initiative, held its final soil collection to honor the remaining unknown victims of the massacre 100 years to the day it began. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Monette and Cassville just doesn't want to budge, unfortunately. We need it to move. No lightning, so the severe weather is flooding. That's what we need to worry about. Because if we want to talk about the amounts that we've picked up here in the last 24 hours alone, we'll focus in right there on Monette, where we have now eclipsed the 2-inch mark, moved just to the east. So underneath Monette and Mount Vernon, just to the east, 2.4 inches of rain. In between Monette and Cassville, another 2.2 inches. So know that those roads that are susceptible to flooding have not picked up any closures as of yet, but know that if they're susceptible to flooding, we are definitely headed in that direction. Because you got to remember, it's not just the rain that we've picked up from last night into this morning, but also the soil and the ground just so wet from last week as well. Of course, as you pick up here and you move toward the central portion of the 4 states, that's only in between 1/10 of an inch and a quarter, and we've even got a dry slot running through southeast Kansas. But when we focus on those areas that we're seeing the most amount of water pick up, and of course that's where we've got our flood watches in effect all the way into Wednesday for southwest Missouri. Focusing on Newton County there, where that expiration time is 7 a.m. Now, throughout northeast Oklahoma, the goal is to hopefully let those expire at 10 a.m. As far as our temperatures today, very mild to begin June. Normally we'd be high 70s, mid 60s. As good as we're going to get because of the mostly cloudy skies and the rain sticking around now. We will begin our warm-up as we get past today. Rain tapers off tomorrow late morning, and we're up into the 80s there by the weekend. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Love all things Lego? Well, this morning you have the chance to win an 800-piece Lego set for free. It's part of our Lego Masters Season 2 giveaway. Now, this is what you have to do to win. Tune in to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 at 7. When we tell you the lines are open, that's when you call the number on your screen, and the 14th caller will win. Now, you do have to be 18 years or older to participate, so kids, you'll need to get mom or dad's help to win. And of course, make sure you catch Season 2 of Lego Masters tonight at 7 p.m. on Fox 14. How exciting. The sports world is examining the role of mental health on athletes following Naomi Osaka's withdrawal from the French Open this week. The tennis champion says she's taking time off the court. Elise Preston reports.
The world's highest paid woman athlete, Naomi Osaka, is hanging up her tennis racket for now. After being fined $15,000 for skipping her post-win press conference at the French Open, Osaka announced on Twitter she would take time away, citing bouts of depression she's had since the 2018 U.S. Open. 23-time Grand Slam champion Serena Williams is offering her support.
I feel for Naomi. I feel like I wish I could give her a hug because I know what it's like.
Tennis legend Billie Jean King tweeted, "The important thing is that we give her the space and time she needs." This outpouring of support was delayed this week when the 23-year-old tennis champ first skipped out on mandatory press briefings. A wave of other stars and high-ranking tennis officials spoke out against her decision. Former Australian tennis official Richard Ings called the reaction to Osaka's initial comments appalling, tweeting, "Tennis must do better." Now, the head of the French Tennis Federation is softening his stance.
We are sorry and sad for Naomi Osaka. We wish her the best and the quickest possible recovery.
Osaka also said in a statement that when the time is right, she hopes to work with the tour to make things better for the players, the press, and the fans. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
All 4 Grand Slam tournaments had threatened Osaka with possible punishment in addition to the fine, including disqualification or suspension. The French Tennis Federation president said that the tournaments and tours, quote, remain very committed to all athletes' well-being and to continually improving every aspect of players' experience in our tournament, including with the media, like we always have.
All right, Tanya, we're your morning routine involves Facebook. Go to @Michael Hayslip, KOAM. That's a quick hitter of your day planner for this first day of June. Also, we'll keep you updated on the flood watches through southwest Missouri and northeast Oklahoma. That's the same forecast that you can find on the Skywatch mobile app. Remember, that is free and downloadable on all your mobile devices. As far as our Insta poll goes this morning, we're asking, would you voluntarily add a breath sensor to your car? New technology coming in the near future, where if you're above the legal limit, car simply won't start. Right now, 65% of you say no, you would not do that voluntarily. Of course, you can make your voice heard by going to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We're going to come back, take a look at those flood watches right after this. We're now in excess of 2 inches of rain from overnight into the morning hours, right in between Monette and Cassville, and it does taper off here as we're working toward the west. That's good news for the flood warnings, flood watches that are in effect for northeast Oklahoma. Southwest Missouri, remember, our counties indicated in green. Those aren't set to expire all the way until Wednesday morning. We've got flood watches, the dark green indicating flood advisory, so it's pretty widespread when you get to the south. Temperatures today going to be mild with mostly cloudy skies. Rain persisting south of I-44 all the way into Wednesday.
Officials with the Mount Hope Cemetery honor the unclaimed remains of 3 veterans. Plus, 100 years after tragedy, how Tulsans are remembering the lives lost in the Tulsa Race Massacre, and a look at an effort to immortalize the story of Black Wall Street through art.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News at 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. More rain is expected today, but hopefully it'll clear off for a cloudy afternoon. Let's go straight to Michael Hayslip for a first look at your forecast.
Getting a break from 7th and Rangeline, where earlier this morning we had heavy rain coming down. You can see the drops in the streetlights, but now it's just a soaked intersection. Temperatures sitting right now at around 58 degrees. 58's been the popular number. It's just about every place in the 4 states. Give you an idea of what we're looking at rain-wise. Still very, very heavy. And in the eastern portion of southwest Missouri right there, we're already over the 2-inch mark in between Monette and Cassville. We are tapering off as we move into the central portion, and the west has actually remained dry for really the past 24 hours. As I mentioned, 58, the dominant number, 61 in Chanute. That is our high, 54 right now in Monette, with our weather trend only pushing us up into the mid-60s for this first day of meteorological summer, aka June 1. But the rain, that's the key factor, because we're going to already have flooding concerns down south. It does grow a little bit to the north through to this afternoon and evening. Not looking at anything severe for the scattered variety, just that flooding. We've got to make sure you avoid those roads, because as you can tell, it just doesn't want to stop here until the middle of the week. So no surprise that we have flood watches for southwest Missouri until Wednesday morning. Northeast Oklahoma, hopefully we can let those expire at 10 a.m. this morning. Then we begin our warm-up as we head toward the weekend, eventually throwing up high 70s, low 80s for Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah, gotta get used to the rain. Like you said, this time last year we had way more than we do now.
Yeah, hard to believe, but yeah.
All right, thanks, Michael. On Memorial Day, we honor those who've served our nation, but some who served haven't received the recognition they deserve. The American Legion Post 13, in conjunction with Mount Hope Cemetery, hosted a ceremony to remember soldiers who had ties to Jasper County. They honored the unclaimed remains of 3 veterans. Officials with the cemetery say they're glad to be able to give them a final resting place. Missouri Governor Mike Parson granted 36 pardons yesterday. The governor's office is not releasing the names of who was pardoned. Now, officials say that's due to privacy concerns. They say they want to inform family members first. Monday, in 1921, the most preeminent black community in the history of the United States was destroyed in a brutal attack. Tulsa, Oklahoma's Greenwood neighborhood, also known as Black Wall Street, was home to more than 10,000 black Tulsans and hundreds of businesses. As many as 300 residents were killed in the massacre. And yesterday, the Tulsa Community Remembrance Coalition, in partnership with the Equal Justice Initiative, held its final soil collection to honor the remaining unknown victims of the massacre, 100 years to the day it began. Viola Fletcher, the oldest living survivor of the massacre, and Hughes Van Ellis, Fletcher's younger brother, who was an infant during the massacre, attended the ceremony. Each soil collection serves to memorialize the life of a 1921 Tulsa massacre victim.
They are symbolic of those whose deaths we know, and they are symbolic of those whose deaths we only know because we understand the gravity of the violence that happened.
Black Wall Street's history is expressed through art throughout the Greenwood community. Chris Skur-Rogers is the project manager and mural artist for several projects in the Greenwood community. He hired an artist based in Kansas City to create this Black Wall Street mural. Rogers says each letter tells a significant part of Black Wall Street's history.
For example, the W, we've got a 1920s automobile here, and on the grill we've got the dollar sign because we know this was Black Wall Street. You know, it's titled Black Wall Street because of the financial success of the district.
Rogers says the murals represent cultural tourism. Well, a man named Trevor Hicks went into the rushing water to try and save 12-year-old Kaylin Brown, who was swept away by the current. Wednesday, he was hospitalized and now, according to a GoFundMe page set up to support the family, is on life support. Deidre Walker set up that GoFundMe. Walker's a close family friend who is caring for Hicks' son.
They realized Kaylin was still in his arms, but due to how far out they were, they didn't have a chance to reach her before she was swept away again. Yeah, so he never let go of that little girl. He fought with his last breath to save her life.
You can find a link to the GoFundMe on our website. That's at KOAMnewsnow.com. Oklahoma is renaming part of a state highway after former President Donald Trump. Friday, Republican Governor Kevin Stitt signed legislation to designate a section of State Highway 287 as President Donald J. Trump Highway. The stretch goes from Boise City to the Texas border in Cimarron County. The new measure calls for signs to be put up along the highway, which is to be paid for by the authors of the bill. The bill also removes the state's requirement that a person has to have been dead no less than 3 years before a bridge or highway could be renamed in their honor. 6:07.
Now we're starting to get some of that heavy rain pushing east towards Springfield, so hopefully a little bit of a reprieve for everybody in the Monette-Cassville area. No lightning. Flooding is our main concern, with those flood watches remaining all the way into Wednesday morning for southwest Missouri. I already picked up close to 2 inches there. Temperatures only in the mid-60s here today because of the mostly cloudy skies. Rain becomes more scattered as we work into the late afternoon hours, but does stick around into Wednesday morning before it finally tapers off and we head up into the high 70s, low 80s into the weekend.
Morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, staffing shortages across the country.
A labor shortage is hitting hotels nationwide. I'm Wendy Gillette, and I'll tell you how the industry is trying to attract workers ahead of the busy summer season.
Plus, tips to help you stay active and healthy as you get older. And the Love Boat captain dies at 90. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Love all things Lego? Well, this morning you have a chance to win an 800-piece Lego set for free. It's part of our Lego Masters Season 2 giveaway. Now, this is what you have to do to win. First, tune in to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 at 7 o'clock. When we tell you the lines are open, that's when you call the number on your screen, and the 14th caller will win. You have a chance to jot down that number right now. You have to be 18 years or older to participate, so kids, you need to get mom or dad's help to win this. And of course, make sure you catch Season 2 of Lego Masters tonight at 7 p.m. on Fox 14. Well, a new documentary takes a humorous look at parent and child role reversals. Some of you can ditch the mask at the movies and a Family Matters reunion on TV's favorite daytime drama. Nichelle Medina has your Eye on Entertainment report.
Devon, this is Denise, the private investigator who's been working on my case.
Hello, Devon.
Hello, it's nice to meet you.
Thelma Hopkins reunites with her former TV son and Family Matters co-star Brighton James when she joins the cast of The Young and the Restless this week as private investigator Denise Tolliver. The pair last worked together on the sitcom Family Matters in 1998.
But he and I stay in touch. I'm always in his business. I'll read Soap Opera Digest and check to make sure if they know the truth about what's really going on.
Because she's a fan of the show.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
Big fan.
Hopkins' story arc starts today. Catch The Young and the Restless weekdays on CBS.
Look, our parents did the best they could to take care of us when we were younger, and now it's our turn to do the same for them.
The documentary, It's Not a Burden, The Humor and Heartache of Raising Elderly Parents, is an intimate, humorous, and heartfelt story of adult children caring for their aging parents. Filmmaker Michelle Boyaner shares her story, along with several others who are navigating the challenges and joys of the sudden role reversal. It's Not a Burden, The Humor and Heartache of Raising Elderly Parents is available on demand today. And now, fully vaccinated people are no longer required to wear masks at the 3 major movie chains in the U.S. But AMC Entertainment, Cinemark, and Regal Cinemas say they will continue to follow state and local mandates on mask wearing, which may be different than the CDC guidance. That's Your Eye on Entertainment. Nichelle Medina, CBS News, San Diego.
Actor Gavin Mccloud died on Saturday at his home in Palm Desert, California. Mccloud appeared in 2 of the top television shows of the 1970s and 80s. He was the captain on The Love Boat, and he played the head writer, Murray Slaughter, on The Mary Tyler Moore Show. No cause of death was announced, but Mccloud had reportedly been in declining health for the last few months. Mccloud was 90 years old. Actress Lori Loughlin and her husband are getting a break from their court-ordered supervision to vacation in Mexico. Well, it must be rough. Well, a judge has approved the couple's request to travel to San Jose del Cabo with their family. They asked for permission to take the trip, saying they both have complied with the terms of supervised release. Both Loughlin and husband Massimo Giuliani are under 2 years of supervised release. It's part of their sentences for their roles in the college admissions scandal. They admitted to paying $500,000 to fraudulently get their daughters into college. All right, that's a look at entertainment news. We'll be right back. In Money Watch this morning, Memorial Day weekend signals the start of the summer vacation season, but many hotels across the country are dealing with labor shortages. CBS News correspondent Wendy Gillette reports from Scottsdale, Arizona.
Eli is a front desk agent at the Fairmont Scottsdale Princess just outside Phoenix. The hotel has been overwhelmed with guests since February, when more people started getting vaccinated.
It's been very busy. Lots of guests are coming to enjoy this beautiful weather we have, to sit at the pool, hike, golf, and just relax.
While the guests are coming back, not all the workers are. Business plummeted when the pandemic started and many employees left the industry or the area. The hotel is currently looking to fill 200 positions across all departments.
I've never seen the need for staffing like this unmet as it has been.
The hotel is offering an incentive of $500 to new hires, and current employees can get a bonus of $500 if they refer someone who gets a job.
About a dozen miles away, the Phoenician Resort is searching for 50 employees.
We have cards that we take with us that we can hand out if we meet someone. Hey, are you interested in joining the luxury collection in the Phoenician family?
Staffing shortages extend across the country.
How are we doing today?
Benjamin McCarney is the general manager of the Bohemian Riverfront in Savannah, Georgia. He sometimes busses tables at the hotel's rooftop restaurant when he's short on staff.
I do love the industry, but we all get tired. You know, I had 2 days off last month, closing the rooftop bar multiple nights.
The president of Visit Savannah says managers everywhere are picking up the slack.
It might be cleaning rooms and scrubbing toilets, and that's a challenge for people that that are also responsible for the bottom line and managing their business.
Establishments are asking guests to be patient this summer as the industry works through these staffing issues. Wendy Gillette, CBS News, Scottsdale, Arizona.
Some state leaders have blamed the labor shortages on enhanced federal unemployment benefits. More than 20 states have canceled the benefits. The world's largest meat supplier was hit with a cybersecurity attack. JBS, which processes beef, pork, and other prepared foods in the U.S., suspended all affected systems and notified the authorities. Company says resolution of the incident will take time and may delay certain transactions with consumers and suppliers. Last month, Colonial Pipeline was hit with a cyber attack that caused panic buying, triggering a fuel shortage. A cereal truly out of this world. Kellogg's and Little Debbie have joined forces to create a cosmic brownie cereal. Yeah, you heard that right. Your favorite fudgy sweet treat as a child, or maybe an adult, is now a breakfast cereal. According to a company news release, it features crispy brownie squares with cosmic rainbow pieces, bringing you back to simpler times. You can grab a box at a store near you for roughly $4 to $6. Wow, those look good. Well, Sheetz is shaking things up a little with its new IPA. The popular gas station and convenience store teamed up with Goose Island Beer Company to create a strawberry milkshake IPA. The joint venture, known as Project Ice Cream Brew Scream, blends the classic Sheetz strawberry and banana puree with some hops to make a great summer drink. That's it for Money Watch. Let's toss it over to Michael with a look at your forecast.
Thank you, Tanya. Outside of 7th and Rangeline, we've not only seen the rain taper off, but look at this, starting to see the sky even lighten up just a little bit now that we are 20 minutes past sunrise. It's sitting at 58 degrees. That's where we've been all morning long. A little bit cool here for the 1st of June, and more importantly, we've still got the heavy rain in between Monette and Cassville. We're trying to push this off to the east because we're already in excess of 2 inches of accumulation coming off of last night into this morning. Flood watches for southwest Missouri that don't expire until 7 a.m. tomorrow. As far as northeast Oklahoma, those are set to expire at 10 a.m. today. So let's hope we can be able to lift those. 58 in Miami, 61 in Chanute, a pair of 58s running from Lamar and into Carthage. As we look at the national perspective, big storm system down here in South Texas. They're spawning some warnings. Ours is more just rain and the amount that we've got so far and is still to come because we're not quite done as of yet. Only going to be in the mid-60s later on because of the mostly cloudy skies. Now, as it pushes off to the east, it keeps on rolling up from Oklahoma and Arkansas. And then we see the northern section of the 4 states get some scattered showers for this evening into tonight. We'll finally be able to calm down Wednesday late morning and then head on up the thermometer with 70s and 80s from Thursday into the weekend. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning from Phil Mickelson becoming the oldest golfer to win at a major at 50 years old, to Tom Brady winning Super Bowl MVP at age 43, and Serena Williams ranked 8th in the world of tennis at 39. Athletes are performing at incredible levels in their 30s, 40s, and now 50s. Mandy Gaither has a look at how you can win later in life, too.
From tennis to football and golf, some of the greatest athletes are proving it's never too late to win.
Over the past few years, we have noticed that athletic longevity has been increasing, and athletes, some of the best athletes' performances have been at a higher age than prior.
Dr. Sunitha Posina, who practices internal medicine in Stony Brook, New York, says athletic bodies are built over time.
It takes a lot of consistency, discipline, laser-focused goals of what exactly they want to be.
No matter your athletic goals, Dr. Posina says balance is key to maintaining a healthy life. She says to set simple health goals, use social media or search online for nutrition plans that you can stick to, or keep track of what you're eating through an app. Choose a form of physical activity that works for you and manage your stress levels.
If you have significant amounts of stress, it increases your cortisol levels, and that can still negatively impact your health because it puts you at increased risk of diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, and so forth.
Finally, Dr. Posina says make sure your body gets the rest it needs,
so that the body can repair and rejuvenate.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Dr. Posina says athletes today have more resources and tools to help with their goals. She says it's also what may be helping to increase their longevity. Swiss food giant Nestle is revamping its strategy following a product health value report. The world's largest food company by revenue says it will undertake a company-wide review of its nutrition and health strategy. This comes after the Financial Times reported on an internal document that described about 60% of its food and drinks as unhealthy. Some categories like medical nutrition, pet food, coffee, and infant formula were excluded from the analysis. Nestle holdings also include confectionery, ice cream, and pizza. One analyst says the report could move Nestle to divest from its confectionery business. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Just about use I-49 as our dividing line as far as where the rain is beginning to lighten up to the west of the interstate right there. So that's where we're going to get the morning break. This is just no reprieve in between Monette and Cassville as it continues to come down. And we'll keep our eyes down south for the rest of the day as everything will roll up from Oklahoma and Arkansas through the southern 4 states. We'll get a little bit more scattered here with light rain up into the northern portion for the afternoon. But once again, flooding is our main concern for today. It's going to be cool to start the month of June, that's for sure. Only in the mid-60s right there. By the time we get into late Wednesday morning, then we can finally get a break. And look at the temperatures warming up. It's going to be a little bit muggy there headed into the weekend. Be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Officials with the Mount Hope Cemetery honor the unclaimed remains of 3 veterans. Plus 100 years after tragedy, how Tulsans are remembering the lives lost in the Tulsa Race Massacre, and a look at an effort to immortalize the story of Black Wall Street through art.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. More rain is expected this morning, but we're hoping for it to clear off for at least a cloudy afternoon. Let's go straight to Michael Hayslip with a first look at your forecast.
Even a peak of blue sky here over 7th and Rangeline where the rain was coming down legitimate pre-sunrise. Now we've kind of backed off that, at least here in Joplin. 58 degrees is where we stand. Temperature has been very stagnant all morning long. Important factors are south of I-44. A whole lot of heavy rain from overnight already into this morning. Monette and Cassville already picking up 2 inches of rain. Tapers off as you move to the west and to the north of 44, kind of west of 49, just about through Carthage right there. And a little bit getting ready to sneak over the Cherokee County line into Jasper County. That thing's not coming down too hard though. 58, 59, 60, kind of dominant numbers as far as temperatures go right now, but not our June 1st warm-up that we'd be accustomed to because we're going to be stuck in the mid-60s. As the heavier rain progresses off to the east, we get more of the scattered variety for this afternoon and evening, but those flood warnings, flood watches, excuse me, they're not going anywhere. For southwest Missouri, they don't expire until Wednesday morning. Now for northeast Oklahoma, hopefully we can let those expire at 10 o'clock this morning. Finally be done, say, tomorrow, late morning. Then we can begin a warm-up. We're going to hit high 70s, low 80s from Thursday all the way into Sunday.
Temperatures aren't looking too bad, though. Can't complain about that.
No, not too bad. Just know that if you're going south, they're already underwater. So county roads, they're definitely going to flood, and we'll keep our eyes on state highways. Haven't had any road closures yet from the Department of Transportation.
All right, keep an eye on that. Remember, turn around, don't drown. Thanks, Michael. On Memorial Day, we honor those who've served our nation, but some who served have not received the recognition they deserve. The American Legion Post 13, in conjunction with Mount Hope Cemetery, hosted a ceremony to remember soldiers who had ties to Jasper County. They honored the unclaimed remains of 3 veterans. Officials with the cemetery say they're glad to be able to give them a final resting place.
Well, I just feel that it's our duty to make sure that they're taken care of for the sacrifice they made for us, and to have them in a final resting place with their fellow soldiers here in our veterans area, surrounded by other vets for their final resting place.
Cemetery officials say in the future they hope to build a fallen but not forgotten monument for soldiers like the ones honored on Monday. GAR Cemetery in Miami, Oklahoma yesterday hosted an in-person event, but social distancing was encouraged. The event was open to the public and, of course, local veterans organizations. GAR Office Manager Nancy Bro says more and more veterans take part.
I think they're very honored. We get a large group of veterans that participate and show up for the ceremony every year, and that number is growing every year.
This year's guest speaker was Ben Loring. Loring is a former district attorney, Oklahoma State representative, and current Miami City attorney. His sons, David and Ian, served in the U.S. Army. Monday in 1921, the most preeminent black community in the history of the United States was destroyed in a brutal attack. Tulsa, Oklahoma's Greenwood District, also known as Black Wall Street, was home to more than 10,000 black Tulsans and hundreds of businesses. As many as 300 residents were killed in the massacre. And yesterday, the Tulsa Community Remembrance Coalition, in partnership with the Equal Justice Initiative, held its final soil collection to honor the remaining unknown victims of the massacre, 100 years to the day it began. Viola Fletcher, the oldest living survivor of the massacre, and Hughes Van Ellis, Fletcher's younger brother, who was an infant during the massacre, attended the ceremony. Each soil collection serves to memorialize the life of a 1921 Tulsa massacre victim.
They are symbolic of those whose deaths we know, and they are symbolic of those whose deaths we only know because we understand the gravity of the violence that happened.
Black Wall Street's history is expressed through art throughout the Greenwood community. Chris Skur-Rogers is the project manager and mural artist for several projects in the Greenwood community. He hired an artist based in Kansas City to create this Black Wall Street mural. Rogers says each letter tells a significant part of Black Wall Street's history.
For example, the W, we've got a 1920s automobile here, and on the grill we've got the dollar sign because we know this was Black Wall Street. You know, it's titled Black Wall Street because of the financial success of the district.
Rogers says the murals represent cultural tourism. A man named Trevor Hicks went into the rushing water to try and save 12-year-old Kaylin Brown last week, who was swept away by the current last Wednesday. He was hospitalized and now, according to a GoFundMe page set up to support the family, is on life support. Deidre Walker set up that GoFundMe. Walker's a close family friend who was caring for Hicks' son.
They realized Kaylin was still in his arms, but due to how far out they were, they didn't have a chance to reach her before she was swept away again. Yeah, so he never let go of that little girl. He fought with his last breath to save her life.
You can find a link to the GoFundMe on our website. That's at KOAMnewsnow.com. A small town in Missouri's wine country has caught the eye of a Florida investor who hopes to make it a destination for wine lovers from all over the world. That investor, David Hoffman, has Missouri roots. He spent the last few months buying up land in the tiny town of Augusta along Highway 94 in Charles County. He's bought about $100 million worth, including 4 of Augusta's 5 wineries. He also bought up commercial property and plans a golf course and hotel. Hoffman sees the region as Missouri's own version of Napa Valley, but some worry the town of 290 residents could lose its unique charm. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, a deadly shooting.
Police are hunting down 3 suspects responsible for a mass shooting at a banquet hall in Florida. I'm Christina Coleman with the latest on that search, coming up.
Plus, for our Something to Talk About, we're asking, would you voluntarily add a breath sensor to your car? We let you weigh in, but first, it's 6:37.
It has stopped raining over 7th and Range Line. That is not the case, however, in southern and southwest Missouri, where it continues to pour down in between Motonette and Cassville. Already 2 inches of rain overnight into this morning, leading to flood watches into Wednesday morning. Speaking of Wednesday, rain finally calms down late morning, early afternoon, and we get a warm-up beginning on Thursday. We'll be back with Nation Watch next.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, still no arrest in the deadly mass shooting in Florida over the weekend. Officials say it was the result of an ongoing rivalry between 2 gangs. They're calling on the violence to end. Christina Coleman has the latest on the search.
We will leave no stone unturned. We will leave nothing behind to bring these shooters to justice.
The search is on for 3 suspects responsible for a mass shooting that left 2 dead and injured at least 20 people. It happened shortly after midnight during a Saturday evening party at a banquet hall in South Florida. Dozens of people were gathered outside the venue when 3 gunmen in ski masks and hoodies jumped out of an SUV and opened fire, sending a barrage of bullets randomly into the crowd. Authorities believe the shooting was targeted, but it's unclear if the victims were specifically chosen.
We have to be clear about what's happening in Miami-Dade County. These are acts of domestic terrorism.
Friends and family are now demanding answers.
You all killed my kid. You must burn.
A grieving father of one of the victims broke down during Monday's news conference, interrupting the Miami-Dade police director. Authorities are asking for the public's help in bringing the shooters to justice, offering a $130,000 reward for information. Miami-Dade police released new surveillance video of the suspected gunman on Monday. It shows 3 men getting out of a white Nissan Pathfinder and rushing off camera, then later running back to the car, then running away from the scene.
This was the second mass shooting in the Miami area over the weekend. A drive-by shooting late Friday left 1 person dead and 6 others injured. Coronavirus vaccinations continued over the long weekend. A mobile clinic brought vaccines to the streets of New York City. The CDC reports 62.5% of American adults have received at least 1 dose. The number of new daily COVID infections has dropped below 13,000 nationwide, the lowest it's been in more than a year. The 2021 hurricane season starts today, and experts say it looks like it may be a busy year. The season runs through November 30th and covers areas including the Atlantic Ocean, Gulf of Mexico, and the Caribbean Sea. The National Weather Service defines a hurricane as a tropical cyclone with maximum sustained winds of 74 miles per hour or higher. Colorado State University Tropical Meteorology Project team is predicting an above-average season. They're forecasting 17 named storms, including 8 hurricanes. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Climate Prediction Center is forecasting a 60% chance for an above-normal season. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, almost 40% of traffic deaths over Memorial Day weekend involve alcohol. Now, there's a new technology supported by big automakers trying to stop drunk driving before it begins by adding breath sensors to cars called the Driver Alcohol Detection System for Safety, also known as DADS for short. Here's how it works. Sensor can detect the blood alcohol content in just a matter of seconds, and if you're above the legal limit of 0.08, cars simply won't start. Technology being made available for open source this fall, so could turn up in cars and trucks sometime soon. The hope is that this may one day be an added safety feature you can add on to a new car that you buy at a dealer. Our question to you is, would you voluntarily add a breath sensor to your car? Right now, 71% saying no. No, you would not. You can make your voice heard by going to KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Come back, celebrate birthdays and anniversaries next.
We take this time to honor today's 4 state heroes. Seaman First Class Bruce Jeffers, who served in the United States Navy from 1942 to 1945 in World War II. His hometown, Neosho, Missouri. We are proud to salute Bruce Jeffers, our 4th state hero.
The list begins with a smiling Skylar Baker. Skylar, a very happy 5th birthday to you, my friend. She is in Pittsburgh.
All right, Abel Jackson turning 6 years old this year. Abel's celebrating in Pittsburgh as well.
In Erie, Arlo Maddox hopping along, celebrating the big number 6. Have a good one, Arlo, and be safe.
All right, love the trampoline shot there. And we've got Adeline Bruner, who's now 8 years old. Happy birthday, Adeline, in Lockwood, Missouri.
Double digits for one Max Morris, who pushes up to be 10 years old today. Max celebrating in Frontenac.
In Franklin, turning 10 this year, Jackson Schwab. Happy birthday. Check that one out there, Michael.
I'm hungry now. Job, Jackson. Josephine Stewart, celebrating a 12th birthday. What a pretty picture right there. Happy birthday, Josephine in Galena.
All right. Sydney Moore turning 14 years old this year. Got a great picture there of Sydney in Crestline.
Run out to Carthage because that's where Kylie Buck is celebrating her 15th birthday. Have a great day, Kylie.
All right, Kayla Clark turning sweet 16 this year. Happy birthday to Kayla in Parsons.
That's impressive cake right there, Kayla. My goodness.
Fit for a queen.
That is good. Dawson Mirando celebrating the big number 21. Dawson, have a great day in Frontenac.
All right, and Samantha Cronky turning 23 years old this year. Samantha celebrating in Girard.
Jeff Bowles is 33 years old. Now, Jeff is celebrating it in Manhattan, but originally from our neck of the woods in Galesburg. Happy birthday, Jeff, from Mom, Glenn, Allison, and Granny.
All right, well, happy birthday from the grandkids going out to Jim Vince, who's now 64 years old in Girard. Vincy.
Happy birthday, Jim. Long time no see, my man. Chris Johnson, a happy birthday in Columbus.
And Sean and Teresa Winter are celebrating their 25th anniversary. Congratulations to the winners. I love that picture. Throwback wedding pic there.
We've got a 35th anniversary in Crestline. John and Kenna Hutto. Congratulations, John and Kenna.
All right, Carl and Nancy Thornton are celebrating their 47th anniversary. Pretty picture in front of the falls there for the Thorntons in Thayer, Kansas.
And 49 years ago, Joe and Beverly Cleason tied the knot. Congratulations to Joe and Beverly.
All right. And we've got a 67th birthday wish going out to Heather Shearberger in Columbus. Happy birthday, Heather. And a happy anniversary to the Rebels, Mike and Julie, celebrating 30 years of wedded bliss in Iola.
Happy birthday, happy anniversary to all on this first day of June. That's where you can send them into birthdays at KOAMTV.com, or if you prefer to use the internet, KOAMNewsNow.com/birthdays. Now over to Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMNewsNow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
This site is a far cry from what we experienced pre-sunrise over 7th and Rangeline in Joplin. Not only starting to see the skies lighten up, but every now and then you get a little sliver of blue sky. Still a soaked intersection, though, with the amount of rain that we've picked up overnight into this morning. And no budge on the old thermometer as we sit at 58 degrees. Let's go ahead and pay attention to what we've got cooking down here in the southern portion of southwest Missouri, particularly in between Monette and Cassville. Just have not been able to get these patches of the heavy yellow rain out of our highlighted counties. Now, you get on the west side of I-49, which has kind of become our dividing line. Things look much, much better. As a matter of fact, even starting to clear out of the cloud cover a little bit in southeast Kansas. But for southwest Missouri, along and south of I-44, we are far from being over as we now see this splash of yellow indicating 2.5, almost 3 inches of rain since last night alone. And coming off of being inundated with rain last week as well, we've got flood watches for southwest Missouri. Now, those run all the way into Wednesday morning. The master plan for the National Weather Service is to let the ones in northeast Oklahoma expire at 10 o'clock this morning. A whole bunch of 58s, that's kind of been the dominant number. It's a little bit of a cool start to a 1st of June, where normally we'd anticipate afternoons being close to 80 degrees. We're not going to quite make it there. Ours have remained as rain showers. Haven't picked up any lightning, flooding our main concern. The real heavy thunderstorm activity making its way from South Texas into the eastern portion of the Lone Star State. As I mentioned, the clouds just keep us really from going anywhere as far as warmth, but at least by the time we get to this afternoon, even though we see it kind of graduate up to the north, this sliver is going to be able to handle some precipitation compared to what we do not need any more of down to the south. And eventually, by the time we get into Wednesday, much more scattered, beginning to lighten up, and then we can talk about a warm-up. Because after the rain's done on Wednesday afternoon, we're headed up into the high 70s, low 80s from Thursday all the way into the weekend. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News right after this. If you love all things Lego, we got a deal for you. I'm a big Will Arnett fan too. Because remember, Tanya, Will Arnett is the one that taught us, it's not a trick, Michael. It's an illusion. Anyway, this morning you have the chance to win an 800-piece Lego set and do so for free. It's part of our Lego Masters Season 2 giveaway. Here's what you have to do. Tune into the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 at 7 o'clock. When we tell you that our phone lines are open, call the number on your screen. 888-620-4869, 888-620-4869. 14th caller, you're going to win what I got in my hands right now. Have to be 18 years or older to participate, so go get mom and dad. Tell them you need your help to win. And of course, make sure you catch Season 2 of Lego Masters. That is tonight, 7 o'clock on Fox 14, hosted by the wonderful Will Arnett.
There you go. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Coronavirus vaccinations continue over the long weekend. A mobile clinic brought vaccines to the streets of New York City. CDC reports 62.5% of American adults have received at least one dose. The number of new daily COVID infections has dropped below 13,000 nationwide, the lowest it's been in more than a year. New surveillance video shows the 3 suspects accused of opening fire on a crowd outside a banquet hall in northwest Miami-Dade County early on Sunday, killing 2 and injuring more than 20 others. They were attending a rap concert inside. Police say the violence was the result of a rivalry between 2 groups. Police pulled the stolen SUV the gunman used from a nearby canal late yesterday afternoon. On Memorial Day, we honor those who've served our nation, but some who served have not received the recognition they deserve. The American Legion Post 13, in conjunction with Mount Hope Cemetery, hosted a ceremony to remember soldiers who had ties to Jasper County. They honored the unclaimed remains of 3 veterans. Officials with the cemetery say they're glad to be able to give them a final resting place. In 1921, the most preeminent black community in the history of the United States was destroyed in a brutal attack. Tulsa, Oklahoma's Greenwood District, also known as Black Wall Street, was home to more than 10,000 black Tulsans and hundreds of businesses. As many as 300 residents were killed in the massacre. Yesterday, the Tulsa Community Remembrance Coalition, in partnership with the Equal Justice Initiative, held its final soil collection to honor the remaining unknown victims of the massacre 100 years to the day it began. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Hopefully, we let the National Weather Service, when I say we, I mean them, lets the flood watches for northeast Oklahoma expire here in about 3 hours. But remember, throughout southwest Missouri, the flood watches extend all the way into Wednesday morning, still getting that heavy rain in excess of 2 inches. In between Monette and Cassville, flooding is our biggest threat here. No lightning or high winds, nothing like that. It's just the water that won't go away as it will continue to roll through for this afternoon, become a little bit more scattered up to the north and to the west, and then finally tapering off on Wednesday, and we can begin a little June warm-up headed into the weekend.
Today at noon, we're making a farm-to-table snack board in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOAM, CBS Morning News. That's coming up next.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues.
And we're giving away the Lego Masters set. It is a make-or-break competition hosted by Job. No, I'm kidding. It's Will Arnett. But I mean, his character was Job. Have a great, safe day. Remember, we'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.
Today's Pledge of Allegiance.